The Tidyverse, packages for working with data. And the way that I would like to start this is to actually show you some examples of use of the Tidyverse. So there's nothing right now you need to take notes on. I don't anticipate this to be any new learning. You're going to have that soon enough. This is just more or less a demonstration and something to whet your appetite about what you're about to learn. Okay? So, if you want to follow along, I've made this script available, but the first thing you're going to have to do is to install the Tidyverse package. So, clicking on Packages, of course, and then the Install, and if you type in Tidyverse, it will pop up there, and then you can install the package. Make sure you're installing dependencies. This is a large package, so it will take a little while to install it. The Tidyverse actually has many packages within it, as I'll discuss a little bit later. But go ahead and install that, pause your video, get that installation done, and then come back here and you can follow along with me. I'm going to cancel this because I've already installed it. We're going to start by looking at some messy data from the World Health Organization. These data document new TB cases in each country. So first of all, I'm going to load the library here so that I can access the data in my data folder, because I keep everything now in all data in a data folder, and my code is in separate folders. I'm going to load the Tidyverse, and I already have it loaded. That's why nothing came up in my console window. Otherwise, there would have been some information about what packages I was actually loading. I'm going to load the TB data. And let's take a look at what the TB data looks like at this point. Call that up here. So we have countries, and then we've got a bunch of variables. New cases at different times, different years, different times. Let's scroll across. A lot of missing data, as you can see. If I scroll down here, I'll get to, here's some that's some countries that are not missing the data. So this is considered very untidy data, very messy data. And so I'm just going to real briefly walk through some steps here to show you how quickly and in how few lines we can straighten some things up. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to gather up the values of the new cases. And so I'm going to run this, and then we're going to go ahead and look at what we've done. And so we've completely changed the organization of the data. Instead of all those variables now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 variables here. And we're seeing this
9 o'clock a.m.
We're seeing this information here in terms of number of cases for each of the years, new cases that are occurring. One discrepancy here is that we have new is here in all these titles for everything but the relapse data, and that's designated as new relapse. So we're going to get some consistency here. Let me scroll up here, or let's go ahead and open this view and I can show you what I mean. So let me scroll down a bit till we can find some of the relapse data. Okay, here we have new EP, and I forget exactly what that stood for. Here's new SN. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to get some consistency of this. And so we're going to now separate out different portions and get more appropriate variable names, and now here's what we have. So notice what I've done here is I've separated out this new as a separate variable and then put in the type. So the type would be whether it's SP or REL or etc. And everything is the data in the data set's new, so we really don't need this new variable here. So going to, in one line, get rid of that. Now we're down to 5 variables. And now this looks much more like a factor that we would have here, this type. And we see that sex and age are put together. The M stands for male and the age is 14. So those are really 2 separate variables in our messy data set. So let's separate them out. And now we have our gender and our age was separated out with 1 command. And so now we have, if we look at our final data set, now we have a data set that doesn't look near as messy. Here's the country, here's the year, here tells us the type of case, whether it was a relapse or a new case. Here's the gender, here's the age, here's how many cases there are. And if you go through this data and look at any place in the data set, it's all nice and cleaned up. So we went from a very messy data set that looked like this at the beginning to a data set that when we were done looked like this. If you remember working with between and within subjects factors, you often have to switch from a wide to a long format. And in the Tidyverse, we can do that in basically a line of commands. Whereas in the old days, we had to either write a little script for it or do it by hand, do some transformations. That's not going to be needed. Okay, so that's demonstration number 1, cleaning up the data. Now let's look at something that's probably a little more exciting than data cleaning, and that is visual analysis. And so I'm going to use for that the vowel analysis data, and we're going to see how we can make some cool graphs. But I'm almost at 10 minutes here, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and we'll look at the next phase of this demonstration in part 2 of this video series. I'll see you then.